Welcome to the Hockey Huddle, the ultimate podcast for hockey fans by hockey fans, where we break down the latest on and off ice from power plays to game-changing trades. Whether you're a diehard fan or new to the sport, we've got all the action, analysis, and hot takes you'll need to stay in the game. We'll bring you exclusive interviews with other fans, weekly breakdowns, and everything you need to know from the NHL and beyond. So lace up your skates, grab your stick, and let's drop the puck on today's episode of the Hockey Huddle. Episode 16 or 15 or 16. I can't remember which one. Episode 16. That's what we're going to say.
Marner.
Yes, number 16 on your jersey, Mitch Marner.
We got a trade to announce on Hunter and Hogan. So just so those people know out there in the area, we signed Craig Smith, and that's who we're talking with right here. He's my good buddy here. Every single Leaf game I've seen this season and the last season, and I think the one before.
Probably.
Right? Probably.
Craig
and I have watched together. So we're introducing Craig for Trade Deadline. He comes with some hockey knowledge. He played hockey. Did you play Junior B? What was the Junior B?
I played with Barry Colts.
Played with the Barry?
They were at the Junior B level.
There you go. And he's
Nice.
one of 5 brothers, all who which played not named Sutter, but Smith, right? So, and where did you grow up?
Aurelia, Ontario.
There you go.
Really?
Hometown.
Yes.
Wow,
Aurelia,
that's
Ontario.
amazing.
And it's usually Craig and I versus 5 or 6 kids out there in road hockey. We dominate, by the way. Craig plays D, I play forward.
Well, we pass better than they do.
Yeah, much better. And we usually win 10-0. My kid's the goalie, and there's like 6 other guys hacking at us, but we have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
So we picked them up for the trade deadline. So we got some great insider comments coming your way, guys. So you were talking about Nyes or Farquhar coming down with 0.01 seconds to score. The presence of mind he had. And Craig, what did you say?
Well, how did he know how much time was on the clock? Because is there a clock at the end of the rink? I didn't think so.
No, I don't
But
think
unless he had it in his head that he knew to shoot from high slot, because that's normally on a clear cut like that, you're going to take it in deep the goalie.
Yeah.
Or something, or get closer to the net. But he shot
Nyes has got
a high hash box. You're right, Rick, and that just was
High hash, yeah.
to know it went in with that little bit of time left. He had to have known somehow.
And Rick, you alluded
And
to
he's not
something.
cerebral. Yeah, he's not a cerebral guy.
His nickname's Brick, so can he really even count to 5? I don't know. Kidding, Matthew, Nyes, we love you, buddy. We're just messing with you, bud. All good.
Good way to finish. Like, hey, that was a strong finish for him, and just getting off the face-off to get in front of that defenseman to steal the puck and go charging down the ice. Beauty. Love to see that from Matthew Nyes, and yeah, exciting to see the Leafs win another one. They've won 8 of 9, I think.
Yes.
And they're charging hard, which is great. They look good. It's nice to have most of the lineup back in place now, and also good to see the goalies. Now, we gave up a few goals tonight.
Well, it was an afternoon game. I don't think he was quite out of bed yet when the game took place, but it's
Right,
an
yeah.
afternoon one, so we'll give him a break because he does play well most of the time.
Yeah, and we won, so we'll...
And we won. So.
That's right.
You know one thing?
Yeah, no,
they talk about shooting the puck a lot, and our defense, they've scored 7 goals in the last 7 games, which we hadn't scored much at all. And I really have to credit Philip Myers for that because he started this all. This guy shoots the puck every time he gets it. And he got that goal against the Kraken when they won in Seattle. And the defense has been scoring ever since.
Yes.
And he's been a
Beautiful.
good addition out there.
He looks good, right? And Rick and I, we talked about it, about the Leafs not scoring, and then we kind of went, well, isn't that the forward's job?
Yeah.
well,
And
talk
we
about
call-
secondary scoring, right? How many times have we talked about secondary scoring? How great is it when your secondary scoring comes from your D? Like, what a great spot for
And
that
look at the other
secondary
guy.
scoring.
Domi scores tonight on his birthday, and he
Yeah.
scored in 27 games.
Yeah, and we thought that he was going to get a couple breaks, and he got 2 penalties called against him because we thought on your birthday you had penalties called on you, but that's a
No,
lie.
that's not true. That's a lie, yeah.
Oh my
Speaking
gosh,
of Domi, apparently he got a phone call from Wayne Gretzky, and we had shared. So he got a phone call today before the game. We shared some thoughts and feelings about Wayne Gretzky in the last pod, and we had a lot of comments from you, the viewer, the listener to our podcast, and really appreciated to hear everything you had to say and all the comments we got back. I was afraid that I was going to go out on an island and make those statements that I made about Wayne Gretzky. And if you missed it, I said, fuck you, Wayne Gretzky. You are dead to me. You were the icon and you are no longer. I was worried I was going to get on an island, and I was not. And a lot of you came out and said, we're with you, we agree, and appreciate to hear from you. And love that engagement. A couple people didn't really agree with what we had to say, but overall, glad that I wasn't out on an island out there, Jay. And we shared the video with Craig a little bit before the pod here, and there's definitely a lot of high emotions around this ass clown right now and the actions he pulled. I want to bring up something about something I haven't heard in the media. So one of the things I haven't heard, I've heard a few comments about some of the broadcasts are coming out and saying, oh well, he did this and he did that, but they're not really like giving him the gears, like giving him shit like they probably should be, like true fans of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a fantastic podcast out there, and to me it's the gold standard for podcasts. It's Spit and Chicklets. It is the gold standard for hockey podcast, and there is a hardcore Canadian on that podcast, and I thought for sure I would have heard something from Biz about what happened. Now I don't know if Biz is pulling his punches because he works with Wayne on TNT or what it was, but I'm kind of, I'm not so happy. Like Biz is kind of the guy I love to listen to on that podcast. And again, very, very good group of guys and amazing podcast. They do a spectacular job. But like, I'd love to hear what Biz is feeling about this. And he's got to protect a relationship with the guy he works with. And again, Wayne was the icon. But now, where are you, Biz? I think
you're right, Rick. One of the things that I think a lot of people love about Biz is he calls it how he sees it. He doesn't pull any shots. Yeah. There's no protection. Like he makes calls in real life where he went to protect those waiters and waitresses at that restaurant, right, in Arizona. In Houston's. He did that all on his own. So when somebody's not acting right or doing the right thing, you're right. He usually calls, but he hasn't said anything. So maybe, I don't know. What do you think, Craig? Why would Bissonnette not say anything about Gretzky?
Like you said, he works with them. Maybe it's a courtesy thing. I don't know. Professional courtesy towards Gretzky. It's hard to say.
Or a chicken thing, which I would have never called Paul Bissonnette, especially if I was standing next to him. You know what I mean? Or even if I was on Craig's or Rick's shoulders, I wouldn't do that ever. But anyways, sounds a little chicken to me, buddy. I don't know, Rick.
His parents do live close to you.
Yeah, in Welland. Hello.
Too close.
We were at the rink a couple weeks ago. So I got a picture of Bissonnette's jersey there. But yeah, I don't know why he's not saying anything, Rick. That's a good call. And I mean, I guess Wayne Gretzky's now lived in the U.S. more than Canada anyway, so he might as well just dual citizenship. His wife's from there. He can just move there permanently. Oh, he already does. But she doesn't have a home here.
Hey, did you happen to see?
Oh
yeah,
him and Dawn. Yeah.
Have you seen? Did you watch Saturday Night Live? It's a little bit past I know it's past your bedtime, but I get it a little bit earlier out here in Calgary. But Mike Myers was in one of the sketches on Saturday Night Live last night, and he played Elon Musk. Again, this is not a political podcast. I don't want to politicize this at all.
I just pictured it when you said it. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so he played Elon Musk, and so I don't know if everybody knows this. Mike Myers is a massive hockey fan, specifically a massive Toronto Maple Leafs fan. He's at the games. People love this guy, and he's an amazing Canadian.
He made a movie, Love Guru, about the Maple Leafs.
How great was that movie, by the way?
Man, one of my favorite players. Number 77. Yeah.
So he finishes Saturday Night Live, and he's wearing a suit jacket, and he's got a Canadian flag on a T-shirt, and he opens up his shirt and it says "Canada's not for sale." And I thought, what a great way when they went after Trump and how Trump and Vance treated Zelensky, and then he played Elon Musk in that whole skit, and then he comes out wearing that shirt, and I was like, man, high five. If I could have, I would have high-fived you. And I know a lot of Canadians are probably feeling the exact same way and appreciating him going out there. Good hockey fan, went out there and said, kind of, again, he showed the middle finger to the right people. So anyways, not to politicize this podcast, and I'm sure people will get excited talking about this topic, but let's move on to something else. Let's talk about trade deadline.
We will talk to trade deadline. Are you seeing a countdown, seeing that it's recording and everything okay? Perfect. Awesome. So count down the trade deadline for sure.
Who's got top trade bait this year? I think they throw Seth Jones' name out there as the top guy, but now he's gone.
He's gone, right?
I think they showed Brad Marchand as number 3.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going.
Do you think what happens?
Do you think he'd go anywhere, Rick?
It's hard to say.
What do you think?
He might wait till the end of the season and then test the free agency market, but it's up to Boston. They're outside the playoffs now. They might try something now to get some draft picks. Who knows?
Yeah. It'd be a good idea.
There's a lot of teams. He makes a lot of teams better. Like you think of, and he hasn't had the greatest year. Like he's definitely not playing on the back nine right now. But like I don't know. Do you see him going to can you see him landing in Minnesota? Could that be a thing? Like
maybe.
Would Minnesota
it's in the West. It's in the West. They're trading out of the East because I know a lot of teams, especially when they're hated rivals. They hate to trade from team to team, even though.
Especially high-end players. They don't want to trade within your division or within the conference in some cases.
Yeah, like Ray Kroc for Tuukka Rask. We don't want to do that again. So I'm sure Boston doesn't want to return the favor and give us Marchand and a potential Stanley Cup, right? Because if Marchand's that guy that comes to our team, I think that we would have a really great shot. But what would you have to give up to get him? What would you?
And where would he fit though? Like, so it looks like the prices are kind of low right now. Like, I don't want to. Again, we've only seen a few trades, but the prices haven't been really high going around. Like, there's, so Gus Nyquist went today, got traded for a second round draft pick. Okay,
from Nashville?
He's a minus. Yeah, so he's a minus 20. He's only got, so he went to Minnesota. Minus 20, he's got 5 goals right now. So a second round pick seems kind of, for the potential for what Gus Nyquist is. And then Seth Jones went for Spencer Knight. So it was Seth Jones and a 4th for Spencer Knight and a 1st, I believe, was the return. Yeah. And Spencer Knight's going to be the goalie of the future for Chicago. So again, the price doesn't seem very high because Seth Jones is kind of like, on a bad team.
Rick? How much is Jones making?
I think he's at about 9
or
3
10 somewhere.
9 or 9.5.
$3 billion.
$3 billion. That's high. They're over the cap for sure.
He's overpaid. He's overpaid.
So now, while you're looking for it, I'm telling you right now. So Seth Jones is the best defenseman on the worst team in the league. So sometimes you got to wonder. I know when we started talking about doing drafts, and you got to look at the psyche of the player and where they're coming from. So one of two things could happen. He
wanted out of Chicago.
Yeah, right. So he definitely wanted Chicago, and he's from Dallas, though, right? Wasn't he from Dallas? I thought he was going to Dallas for sure. I heard that that's where Seth Jones wanted to go. But I mean, you got to watch. So he's the best defenseman on the worst team in the league for the last 3 years. So is that someone you want to bring in? I don't know. Maybe not.
Can I interrupt you with some breaking news?
Do it.
I have some I'm going to share some breaking news. I don't know if you know this or if this is new news to everybody. Matthew Tkachuk just got placed on LTIR by the Panthers.
I didn't see that.
That's big news.
He'll be out for the rest of the season, and then they'll sign another player in there. It seems like they're going to play some dirty pool.
Oh, they'll sign some big dollars by the trade deadline, use them to the end of the season.
Yeah.
Then they'll reinstate Tkachuk in the playoffs, and it won't hit the salary cap.
Exactly.
So that's how they're paying for Seth Jones.
Yeah.
Just like Tampa did a few years ago when they won the Cup.
Yeah, and he's making
Vegas
9.5 too. He's making
Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah. He's making 9.5 too. I think Tkachuk is right, potentially.
Yes, not $3 billion.
Not $3 billion. And then just one little quick aside. Craig and I were talking about earlier that finally, we're always talking about injustices, but I just want to say a big shout out to the refs because Ottawa's playing. Who are they playing? Ottawa was playing in a team last night. And Mr. Tkachuk there stood up and went in and in a crease scrum, punched the guy in the face, and guess what happened? He got a penalty. Dude got called for a penalty for the first punch to the head to some guy, and the ref goes, "You're going." He goes, "For what?"
And he gave him a hard time because he got the penalty, but he does it all the time.
Yeah,
and never gets called.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Department of Justice, the Department of Justice is listening to our podcast. Clearly, how many times have we called that out? Like,
oh my God,
come on, fellas. Yeah. So Seth Jones 9.5, Matthew Tkachuk 9.5. Seth Jones is in year 3 of 8 on a contract. So he goes UFA, age 35. Lots of life for him. Yeah, lots of life with Florida. I can definitely see Florida pulling the old Vegas, LA. Hey, this guy's injured. Mark Stone can't play, or who did Vegas? Yeah. Was it Mark Stone?
I think that was about Vegas, yeah.
He's done it 2 years.
Well, when Tampa did it, it was Kucherov.
Kucherov, too.
Yeah, Kucherov, yeah.
Tampa.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Anyways,
so is Jones from is Jones from Dallas? Sorry, because I thought the rumor out there was that he was actually thinking the right player. He was
close. Arlington, Texas.
He's from Arlington, Texas. So he wanted to go to Dallas, or his third choice was Dallas. And dude ends up in Florida, right? So maybe there's a little more to that. Sometimes obviously a rumor's a rumor, but I don't
look at guys like that. He was a great defenseman. And the last 2 or 3 years, his plus minus has been down.
Yeah.
I just think of course, they're not a great team, and he just didn't want to be there anymore. And this might revitalize his career.
He came from Minnesota before that, right?
And he's a right-hand shot defenseman,
which is tough to find.
Look at a guy like Travis Sanheim from Philadelphia in the Four Nations Cup, and he plays on a terrible team in Philadelphia. And when he played in the Four Nations Cup with skilled players, he played exceptionally well. So that's also a big part of that. So Seth Jones going from a crappy team going to a one of the
Yeah.
better teams, the defending Stanley Cup champs.
Yeah.
Hey, like you're playing with you're playing with Aaron Ekblad. That's a significant upgrade when you start playing with if he's playing with Ekblad. I don't know if he's going to partner up with him or not.
He might,
Like,
though.
think of Florida's D now. You've got Ekblad on the first pairing, potentially Seth Jones on the second pairing if they split them up. That's pretty solid. Evander Kane changed his no-move clause today to a 16-team limited no-move clause.
Okay.
So it sounds like Edmonton might be shopping him around or doing something. Maybe they're just, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just trying to create some buzz and get his name out there. But you also have Riley Smith from the Rangers who got pulled off the not pulled off the active. So he got sat. He was in the press box today for roster management, quote unquote, roster management. Sounds like he's gonna be moving. And if you're New York, the fire sale's got to be on, right? Like you got, like it's kind of falling apart with the roster you got. Might be time to start selling off parts, and they've got a few guys that some teams would want. Like I can see some of their top guys, Kreider, Zibanejad, ending up in some teams that are on a run, and them getting some good returns back.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
And Kreider and Fox are out injured right now.
Yeah.
Who knows how long that'll be? But there's a team that they didn't change anything from last year. They were the President's Trophy winners. They didn't really change anything, and then they just went for a crap this year.
Yeah.
And who knows why, but everybody was underperforming. Well, the whole team wasn't just one or two guys. It was the whole team was underperforming.
Well, Zibanejad can't score a goal right now. He can't buy a goal.
No.
It's weird when you look at the lineup. You see all the names out loud. You got, Panarin, Fox, Kreider,
Trocheck, JT Miller.
Yeah, JT Miller, the richest goalie in all the NHL.
Igor Shesterkin.
Right? I think that's what was going on. Shesterkin was stirring the pot in there, getting people all pissed off at him. He's going to be making ridiculous money as a goaltender.
Could be.
That's just, like, what else is, you're right, nothing else has changed.
And then they trade their captain away, Jacob Trouba.
Yeah.
So who knows? But I gotta say, that team was intact from last year, and it just whatever went wrong, just nothing worked this year.
Maybe Chris Drury knew something that we don't know, and he's trying to shake it up on purpose because he can see that there's a lot of problems, right?
Could be.
Craig,
like the JT Miller and Elias Pettersson situation in Vancouver.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Very true.
So,
Craig, you've been in a semi-pro locker room or a pro locker room with the Barrie Colts, and when you've got one person that's toxic in the locker room, how does that affect, or have you seen that in your career playing hockey, and did you see what that did to the team in the room?
Yeah, saw it at the junior level. It was definitely brought the whole team down. You get one person in there that any bit of a negative attitude and you're not playing together, it's definitely a down for the team. Like, you just can't. Sometimes you have games where you struggle to win where you should beat these teams, and it's just because you're just not in a positive attitude, not in a positive situation in the dressing room. And then that team, following year, that player moves on or whatever the case is. One of my best years, I played in a town up north called Gravenhurst, and Chris King played with us for a season. Then he was drafted by the Oshawa Generals and moved on and had his great career. But what a gentleman and what a positive hockey player he was to play with. But you're right, a toxic environment can definitely be caused by one player. And if you get rid of that player, it can fix itself.
Let me add a Barrie Colts element to that. So some of the comments we had on our TikTok about who belonged on Team Canada and who didn't, and a lot of people came out. So Jay and I come out and said Mark Scheifele. Mark Scheifele belonged on that team 100%. But there was a lot of people in the comments who came out and said Scheifele's toxic in the locker room, and that's why he didn't make the team. Now, I can't substantiate any of that. It's possible.
Anything's possible.
Sure.
When it comes to that aspect. But I mean, there were so many, like Canada could have literally put 3 teams into the Four Nations Cup based on the number of players that you saw, big name players that didn't get chosen for that team. And we thought, okay, they could have easily had 2 or 3 teams in there.
No, for sure.
Whereas you look at the other countries, they were like Finland. They have like 15 defensemen that play in the NHL. So for them to, and one of the best ones in the league, Heiskanen, he wasn't eligible. So
Hakanpää didn't play either.
And Hakanpää didn't play, and so they're kind of limited with the defense. So like you look at Canada, there were so many players that got left off the team that could have played, and it worked out. The right guys got the job done.
Yeah, no.
But again, like, there's so many players, and everybody can talk about this guy should have gone, this guy should have gone. It was the similar to situation with the Team Canada junior team for the World Juniors.
Mm-hmm.
The leading scorer in the OHL didn't even get invited to camp.
Mm-hmm.
For Team Canada, and everybody's shaking their heads like, where is this guy? Stuff like that.
And we were talking a little bit about trading around the trade deadline. So Craig knows someone who knows. We'll just say we'll go that way. We don't have to be very specific. Mr. Barlow for Winnipeg, who was drafted the 18th overall in last year's draft, and that's why I'm saying I had an insider pick that if we had the opportunity to pick up this kid, he's somebody who is the captain of the Owen Sound Attack. Right now, he's playing for Oshawa, I believe. Right, so this kid, I mean, I don't know why he didn't make the Winnipeg Jets farm team or anything. Well, he's young, but still, he's a kid we need to scoop up. So a lot of times you go and you look to pick up those last little third line center or a third D pairing guy for Toronto. Rick and I have talked about this all year that either we go for it, let's go big and let's win the cup and sacrifice the future about 4 or 5 years down the road, or do we just play it safe and we might win the cup or around? Like, what do you want to do? Like, who do you think that we should pick up, Rick? Who are you thinking? If again, magic wand, man, who would you pick up, or regardless of what it costs?
Yeah, magic wand. Magic wand for me right now looks like it's back to the third line center. So I don't know that I would move much of line 1, 2. Like, I think we got some real magic there and high talent, and looks like there's a lot of chemistry there. That third line, and one, it needs an identity, but it's almost too late to change the identity or create an identity at this point in the season with 27 or 26 games or however many games are left right now. So it's a third line center. It's somebody who is impactful not for just this season but beyond, and we have not had luck with trade deadline rentals. If you look at O'Reilly last year and you look at Foligno and you look at some of these rentals in the past years, nope, it's not working. And you need to go the Seth Jones move with 5 years left on his contract. Brilliant. That's a lovely move. We need something like that. So we need a third line guy who's got term on his contract that we can make where we're heavy and we can move some players out. But we've also seen a resurgence or an emergence of Nick Robertson. We're with that line. That whole line, him and Holmberg, yeah.
Like, there's that third line. You've got Robertson with McMahon and Domi, and
they're flying.
They're just they seem to click together pretty good. They had that one series where there was about 5 or 6 games in a row they were all scoring, and then they went for a bit of a downturn, but then they've
picked it back.
They're all hustling, all three of them. They can skate, they can get in the corners, they can do all.
They're not afraid to do. And Robertson's pushing back.
Robertson's playing really well.
Robertson's 5'8.5", and this guy's playing like he's 6'2" now. He's finally going out there, right? He's not doing that fake skate, where we talked about it before, where he loses the puck and he pretends he's skating really fast. He's like trying to push, he just can't make it. He was like the biggest actor out there, but now you're not seeing that. He's going out and. Normally you would see a guy like that too. It was almost like the guys on the other teams would just pick on him too. They just hit him or push him, like little Robertson. But he's standing up.
You're not your brother. You're not your brother, Jason.
Yeah, right. He's going. I love it, man. So good for him. I like that third line. I mean, I would say if you're gonna go get another second line, really really high touted scoring winger to replace Holmberg on that Tavares Nylander line, if anything. I like that third line. Pontus is starting to come on a bit, and maybe because he's played that line for the last 4 games, he's getting better.
And maybe because the trade deadline's coming, he's playing.
Right. That's also true.
Wants to stay.
Right. So either that or a stud D that we talked about getting Luke Shen back for the third time. Because him and Riley play well together, and that's
I don't know about
that. Favorite player is Riley, by the way. P.S. He's got
I'm a Morgan Riley fan, yeah,
huge.
But I don't know about Luke Shen. The right hand shot is attractive, but I mean he's just older and slower. I just don't I don't see a fit with him. Went out and got Tanev and got Ekman Larson, and these guys have played really well for us all year, and hopefully Tanev's not out too long.
That decor, I think at the beginning of the season for sure, I'm saying, hey, we need a stud D. But right now, I don't think I would change the way Philip Myers looks, the way that OEL has been playing. Tanev's out, but when Tanev gets back in, when he gets going the way he was going, the guy's a shot blocking machine. He's a difference maker.
Yeah.
McCabe, oh man, McCabe, is he's the number one now, right? Would you call McCabe their number one D?
He's pretty close to it, but I mean, the last 3 games he's made a couple suspect passes out front to the other team, so it's almost like he's rushing it. But no, he's a great player. And Riley, we were bitching about Riley all season, but the last 10 games, I don't know what happened. Maybe he finally got the system, or it finally took him a little while to kind of get there. But he's got 7 goals, as many as he had last year.
And he's always been so offensive-minded, but under Craig Berube, he's not that type of game. It's more of a defensive game, so he's had a lot of adjustment to play more of a defensive role. And this is something I watch. I played defense in my career, Rick, and it's something that I notice with these guys is that when they're playing defense and these little mistakes, like Jay says, it's like, what is it like? He's got to get that puck out of there. He's got to get it to the board. Don't go in front of the net, stuff like that. But it's just they're playing well as a whole unit, all 6 of them. And it seems like whichever 6 they put out there, they're doing well.
Yeah. It's been fun to see the change in the dynamic of that core and how they've actually looked decent. So I don't know. Here's my trade deadline prediction or my request. So if I'm the GM, if I'm Brendan Shanahan, if I'm Trey Living, and I've got an option on March 7th to do something, I think I'm doing nothing. And I think I leave the core the way it is, and I leave the chemistry the way it is, because I don't know that there's an upgrade out there that is affordable, that makes sense, that they don't have to give away draft capital, that there's so many different factors there. I think I do. Let's run the engine we brung. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah,
unless there's something really enticing out there that you don't have to give up a lot, then you're right. I don't think they're going to do anything.
Like I'm telling you, that second line guy that can play on the line with Nylander and with Tavares, who's just like another Nylander on the other wing. Wait, there is a Nylander that we could.
There is. Could be.
Speaking of that, you owe me money, buddy.
I don't think he's as fast as the other Nylander, though, the one on the ice.
He's pretty fast, taller for sure. A little bit longer reach, He's still lighting it up down there. He's got 18 goals in 24, 25 games. Anyways, I digress.
So we might have to. Hang on, hold on. We're going to walk that back a little bit. We went 2-0 on a bet, mister, and there is no money owed anywhere, just so we're clear.
The trade deadline, I still got 5 more days before we get Kadri, man, in the trade. And then I think I recanted that if you go back and check the pod. But anyways, that's fine.
Well, speaking of Kadri, last I heard, Kadri and Weegar are definitely off the table. Calgary doesn't want to do anything with them.
I heard the same,
sense.
Yeah.
And
they're real close.
I think, well, look at the guys that Calgary would protect. They've got Wolf for sure, 100%. They're not. He's not going anywhere. He's the future of that team. Connor Zary, he's not going anywhere, and Matt Coronado. Those are the 3 guys that they are. I'm pretty sure they're going to say, don't even call me about these 3. What's interesting is I think people might be calling about Rasmus Anderson, and they might be testing the water.
Yep.
Anderson's UFA this year. And he, just came back from Team Sweden. He hasn't looked great the second half of the season. Like the first half, he looked pretty good. Second half, he's been defensively very sound. Offensively, he's been kind of absent. So I don't know. Who do you see? Can you see Anderson going somewhere? Can you see Anderson landing with
Toronto? He go to Toronto, but you know what's going on? Why do they hate? Why does Calgary hate Treliving so much? Like, what did he do? Like, he was the mentor for buddy who's there in Calgary now as the GM.
Greg Conroy.
Yeah,
so
Conroy. He was a mentor. Like, I don't know why Conroy won't talk to Treliving. Conroy, listen, buddy, you guys go work together as a team. You guys know each other. He's not going to burn you, or unless you're afraid he's way smarter than you. Unless that's what it is. But
who do you send back though? Who goes back to Calgary? Like, what would Calgary want for Anderson? Like, they're going to want. Like, they're going
to want somebody. They're not going to want a draft.
They're
going
to want
the player.
Well, I think I know who they want. They want Robertson, and it makes sense for him because he can play on their second line. He would be one of their fastest guys that's out there, and he's got that great shot, right? So I would put him out there with, I don't know, you can put him with Zary, and I don't know if you would put him with
Zary's playing on the third. Zary's playing on the quote unquote third line. Mind you, Calgary balances the lines out very well. So you've got Huberdeau, Kadri, and somebody together.
Sure.
Pospisil, usually.
Yeah.
And you've got Backlund and Coleman and somebody else together.
Where's Morgan Frost playing right now?
Oh yeah.
So Frost,
he came from
So Morgan Frost, Farabee, and
Joel
Farabee, yeah.
Yeah, and Pospisil or Sharon Govich have been playing together. Okay. I'll tell you, man, Frost and Farabee have looked fantastic, by the way. What a great couple of pickups. Like, they have looked really, really good. Like, good offensive guys, defensively sound. Like, overall, like those are 2 guys that I wish they should have landed. I wish they landed in Toronto. Like, what a great couple of pickups. We saw
them play a lot in Philadelphia here in the Eastern Conference. And so when you watch other teams, you pick up on a couple players, but Frost and Farabee were 2 players that I definitely watched in Philadelphia, and I knew they were up and comers, but to trade them, I was surprised that they traded those 2 guys for what they got. I was like, okay, whatever.
They got Kuznetsov and And who else did they get? They got the older Kuznetsov. There's a younger Kuznetsov with the Wranglers right now. Who else did they get in that trade? I can't remember. I'm gonna have to Google that one.
I have to look it up. Hey, speaking of while you're looking that up, so Toronto played the Rangers recently, and I had a good laugh because I had a flashback to a player that plays on the team. His name's Sam Carrick, and he came into a store that I was helping to manage at a time, and we just had a good laugh about him coming in, wanting to spend some money and gift cards with me. When I told him, I go, and I didn't recognize who he was at the time, but I just told him, I go, listen, and even if you're Austin Matthews, I'm not taking your gift cards, buddy. And then I went in to go see a good friend of mine, we'll call him Rick, and I told him, we both just started laughing, right? But I watched him play, and he's playing on the fourth line with the Rangers, and he's playing pretty good, man. He's not 6 feet tall like it says he is, but I mean, he's definitely pushing hard and going after it, right? So good for Sammy there.
6 feet on skates. He's 6 feet tall on skates
potentially. Yeah.
So Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost got traded for Andrei Kuzmenkov, known as Kuzi, fan favorite. Everybody loves this guy, but he can't finish, can't score a goal. Beautiful hands, fast guy, can't put the puck in the net. It could have been a beach ball into a soccer net, didn't matter. And then Jacob Pelletier, number 22, Jacob Pelletier, who was an up and coming guy, skilled guy, talented guy, same kind of problem. Couldn't finish, couldn't get the puck in the net. And then a couple of draft picks went to Philly as well. So yeah, good. Honestly, a good trade. They've looked very good, and Calgary's deep in young prospects. So, having Pelletier go and having a draft pick here and there go, I think that's okay. The cupboards are, they've got a guy named Sam Honzik in the minors. They've got the captain of their team on the Wranglers. I can't think of his name right now. They've had a couple of guys come up this year and look good. Yeah. Now, the biggest news for Calgary right now is they've got Kevin Ball back. So Kevin Ball is there. He's on the number one pairing for defense, and he was definitely missing for the past couple of weeks. He plays a lot of minutes for them and a lot of important in front of the net minutes. He's a big boy, takes up a lot of space, takes no shit in front of the net, and he's got no problem sorting guys out. If you're standing in the mixer, he's right in there. You're trying to cause problems, he's having none of it. So good to see him back. And last I saw that they were 1-1.
I think it was going into the third. I think it ended the third 1-1, if I'm not
overtime, 2-1 for Carolina. So, and you only score one goal.
Yeah, Calgary's out by 1 point. Then they're really close, right? They're right in the mix for that wild card
in Vancouver
in the West, right? Vancouver's gonna fall, man.
Here's the problem.
Pettersson's got 11 goals.
Well, Utah's right on their tail too. So Utah's on Calgary's tail. Calgary's on Vancouver's tail. Yeah. It's going to be an exciting wild card run there, and it's
good. Looking at it right now, you've got the Avalanche or the 72 points in the first wild card, and then you got Calgary and Vancouver tied with 65 in the second wild card.
Yeah.
So, and it's close.
That's pretty amazing. And Colorado's been making some moves, right? So Colorado just picked up Jimmy Vesey and Ryan Lindgren. So they've made some pretty significant moves to shore up what they got going on. They haven't really been on a tear recently like Toronto has, that's for sure. Yeah. So
Toronto and both Florida teams, like Florida and Tampa, I think Tampa's won 9 in a row or 8 in a row, something crazy like that. The Leafs are, I think you alluded to it earlier, Rick, 8 of 9, and Florida won't stop winning either. I'm like, what the heck, man? We can't pull away from anyone.
No, Tampa didn't lose a game in regulation in the whole month of February.
That's crazy.
Man.
Unbelievable.
I read a stat today that Toronto is 27-0-0 when leading after 2 periods.
Yes,
how's that for a stat for you?
The game before. The number one team, I think the other team is only 3 times after leading after the second period. That's unbelievable. Don't you remember Toronto used to be the team we're going the third. We got that 2-goal lead. Well, we're going to blow that. But yeah, no, they played great, man, in the last 2-3 years defensively. Totally underrated. The Leafs have been, it's been, when we go to the playoffs, it's really been goal scoring that we haven't been able to capitalize on. And so that's why I'm talking. We need to load that second line. If we were to pick up somebody, it would have to be somebody to play on that second line. Rick and I coined a phrase last week.
Give me a name. Give me a before we go to our coined phrase.
Sidney Crosby. That's who we got to pick up. Have him play with Nylander and Tavares as a winger on that second line. He can win draws. He can go to the wing, come out, be great on obviously on the power play, right? So I think that's the guy that we go after, man. This guy. He's going to ride off in the sunset. If he stays in Pittsburgh, good for him. That's awesome. You did win some cups. Your team sucked for the last 6 years. It's going to suck for the next 4. So if you want to stay there, put your stake in the ground and say that, hey, you were a Pittsburgh Penguin for the entire time. I just thought that he likes to win games. Like Crosby, he's very competitive, but I understand he's loyal at the same time. Someone needs to go talk to him from Toronto and just say,
Can
listen,
you?
buddy, or another team. Sorry, go ahead.
So there's a I was reading the other day, and this is from Elliot Friedman. Apparently, Toronto has been knocking on the door for Braden Shen
from St. Louis.
So I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not really excited about Braden Shen. Like I don't know where he's an upgrade in the roster, to be honest. I don't see him really slotting in anywhere other than like the need to make a move. Like that's one of those moves where I'm like, let's do nothing instead of that. Please, please don't.
Third line center, right? Third line center on our team. What is he there? Second line center for St. Louis. He's 33. He's still got 3 more years on his deal. He's not really going to put, like, is he a nice ad? Yeah. But
is Evander Kane an upgrade?
I don't know.
Is
he could play on that second line if he's healthy.
He could
play in that second line with Tavares and Nylander. That's exactly what we need. Wouldn't that be ironic? Toronto, Edmonton in the finals, and we went, thanks for giving us Evander Kane. He's going to go kick your ass now. Right?
So
if
he stays healthy. But what's the price for Evander Kane?
I would say it's like a second or third line or a third round pick, or a potential prospect like maybe Steve's in a second rounder or Steve's in a third rounder kind of thing. Because
what does Edmonton want? Edmonton wants defensemen and goalies, right? Like their best defenseman's Evan Bouchard, and like he hasn't been fantastic this year. Their goalie Stuart Skinner is good, not great.
Yeah,
like they're gonna want something like that, right? Like I'm guessing that's what they want.
Yeah, what are we going to give them, a 7 defenseman? Are they going to take a 7th? There might be a 5th on their team, though.
No, there's no way they're taking a 7th defenseman.
We can give them, who do we pick up from San Jose for a little Jerkin there?
Matt Benning?
Yeah. There you go, buddy. We'll give you Benning for
hasn't played the game yet.
Yeah, he's only played down the rock, but we'll protect him. Like, we've got a lot of great defensemen. We got a good top 4, and then our 5-6, we got about 12 5-6 guys, right?
And I wonder if that's something that you can send back to Edmonton then. So can you send back, does Timmins help make that deal? Does, who is it that helps sweeten that pot a little bit? Is it Hakanpää? Is it,
Yeah, I don't know. But Timmins, who's from St. Catharines, by the way. Awesome. He scored his second goal of the season tonight. And again, he's playing 5-6, and again, he's underrated. As a passer, he's great. He does a great job. Offensive laps are like few and far between for him. He needs to be challenged more. So if I was Edmonton, I would definitely take a flyer on Connor Timmins, like for Evander Kane. Yeah, that's a good straight up trade probably for both teams. I don't want to see him go, but I mean, it's a good pickup. It's like a good hockey trade, right?
I don't think there's a fart's chance in a tornado that it's going to be a straight up Timmins for Evander Kane.
Every time he says that, I win the bet, by the way. Okay?
I think it'd be a Timmins and maybe somebody like a Robertson or a Domi to go with them.
I think that's it, yeah.
Then you might get Evander Kane.
I don't know. How old is Evander Kane? He's only getting paid, his salary's only $2.5 million too, right? They like totally undercut this dude hard. He's not getting paid much money, right? So, and something must be going wrong. Has he been injured like the whole year?
Most of it. Yeah,
okay.
Most of it.
Yeah, we don't see the West play much, so we don't get much perspective.
We do now with Rick, there. Rick and I talk a little bit more, but yeah, you're right. We don't see him a lot, right? So we see him like once a year kind of thing, right?
3 years old, making $5 million, so his cap hits 5. He's in year 3 of 4 of a contract. He is UFA in 2026 from Vancouver. Interesting.
Yeah.
Where are we at with his stats this year? Just talk amongst yourselves while I look at this thing. Here we go. So this year, what year are we in? What year is this? 2028? What year are we in?
We're in 25 so far.
24. Well, why can't I see this year? I didn't want to see this year anyways. Has he played at all this year?
That's what I'm saying. Maybe he hasn't played. I don't remember seeing him play at all.
He was a 4th overall pick in 2009.
Yeah, was it by Winterpeg? Where was Kane?
I'm not sure.
Was he on the West Coast? Like, I know he played for he played for San Jose for a cup of coffee there, and
Atlanta Thrashers.
Winnipeg, Atlanta Thrashers.
Atlanta Thrashers for 2 years.
Who was he drafted by?
Atlanta.
And then they moved to Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, then they moved to Winnipeg. His best year is 30 goals. That's his best season.
Okay. And at $5 million, whatever, he's a guy you take a flyer on. You only got him for one more year. What, 25? You got him 24, 25, 25, 26 at $5 million.
If he plays.
If he plays. So if you were Edmonton, you would take Connor Timmins straight up for him?
No.
Maybe a third round? No? Okay. Possibly. So the name that Rick and I coined last week was a four fenceman. So someone who's not a defenseman or a forward, and we said Morgan Riley,
Cale Makar.
Quinn Hughes could be a four fenceman, and the former Maple Leaf Jake Gardner would be a good four fenceman.
Yeah, what's his name out in Seattle that played with the Florida Panthers last year?
Montour.
Brandon Montour.
Brandon Montour would be a good four fenceman. So they're kind of like mid-range guys, like 6', 6'1", really good hands, and they're fast, and they're more offensively minded than defensively minded, kind of thing, right? So I guess, and that's why we came up with that term four fenceman, for sure. We loved it.
And that's a role that I think you're going to see pop up more in the NHL these days, where you've got teams who look at that high forward, low defenseman, whatever that looks like. Cale Makar has definitely set the bar, and you've got some teams that could really benefit from that guy.
Well, Fox would be another one from the Rangers. Adam Fox would be another for defenseman. Kind of that's out there, right? Definitely. And some of the things we were talking about scoring from the defense, we were saying, well, they're saying the Leafs are ranked last overall for goals from the defense. I think at the time, about 10 days ago, it was like they had 14 goals. But I mean, it's all relative. Some of the things you got to look at is a lot of the goals or opportunities come on the power play. And the Leafs play a 5-man forward unit, right? So the defensemen aren't even getting on the power play. Maybe if we don't score in the whole power play, they may get a 28-second chance to get out there.
Second unit, maybe.
Right? It's very unlikely we start that second unit, which we should sometimes. But anyways, we don't, and we put that first unit, and it's all 5 forward. So I think that's part of the reason why the Leafs defensemen aren't scoring so much. But like you said, Craig, we've had some defensemen in the last 5 to 6 games. I think we scored like 6, 7 goals by the defense. So we've went from 14 to 21 overall, increased it by 33%.
In like a week and a half.
Yeah.
It's been pretty good.
It's been really good.
So amazing, goals by defenseman this year. Who's number one? Who's scored the most goals as a defenseman this year? Take a guess. Cale Makar has got 22 goals this year as a defenseman. Number
Columbus,
2, Zach Werenski. Yeah.
Well, Zach
and number 3,
he's got like 250 shots. He's got like 80 more shots than Austin Matthews has. Yeah. I mean, the guy sees the puck. He doesn't pass. He just shoots it on the net from wherever he is on the ice. It's ridiculous.
212 shots.
Yeah.
He's got an 8.5 shot percentage for scoring goals. Number 3 is a bit of a surprise for me from the Washington Capitals, Jacob Chychrun.
Oh, Chychrun. Well, yeah, he went from
Ottawa, yeah.
What is going on with that guy? From Arizona, didn't want him, tried to trade him for 3 years. Didn't happen. Then Ottawa took a flyer on him, and they needed a scoring defenseman, right? And then they just, they let him walk they traded him to Washington and let him walk there for next to nothing.
How's this for a stat line? So 55 games played this year, 17 goals, 22 assists. He's a plus 20. Plus 20 with 5 power play goals. He's got 130 shots, 13.1% on the shots. He's playing in 21 minutes a game.
That's when Jake Gardner was at his finest. That's what reminds me of Jacob Chychrun. He's a good player, man. I can't believe Ottawa walked on that guy. That's just so dumb.
Colton Perriaco.
Like the captain is braided to Chuck or something. Oh, anyway.
Yeah. Well, Washington is they're one of the top teams in the NHL right now.
Yeah, number 2.
They are,
and Winnipeg.
And go Ovechkin. Wow, is he so close to breaking this record?
He got 11
away. He's
11 away. Yeah, I'm cheering for this guy. And I wasn't sure with that injury whether he was going to be able to pull this off. And now it seems like he might squeak this out. This might happen. So
he's more Canadian than Gretzky, by the way. More Canadian than Gretzky.
We need a better term for Gretzky. He used to be the great one, and now I don't know. He's the great ass. I don't know what we're going to call that guy.
At that point during that game, there's a lot more things that he did or did not do. But I'm saying that was just one of the many things that was dumb move, Wayne. It makes no sense whatsoever, right?
No. Well, Janet had to come out and defend him, right? He didn't defend himself. Janet came out to defend him, and then the word of this letter from Bobby Orr comes out, and it's you know what? Everybody already hates you. The fact that you didn't come out and defend yourself, that your wife came out to defend you, and hey,
yeah.
Whatever that dynamic is in that relationship, you need to come out and defend yourself, especially who you were.
You got to watch who you align yourself with. So he's aligned himself with Trump. And I mean, this wasn't really his pick, the other part, but his son-in-law, who's a really famous golf player.
Dustin Johnson.
Right? It's not the nicest guy in the world either. So, I mean, if you're hanging around with all these guys who are a bag of dicks, guess what? It might be, yeah, you're going to be thrown in the bag with them. right?
Oh.
You got Trump and Dustin and Gretz, and I don't know, man. Just a lot of you hang around with these people, you start to make decisions like them. Gretz got to come back home, you know what I mean, if he wants to fall on that sword or figure out kind of what's going on. And I think somebody said he won the honor of Canada. He didn't even come back to Canada to pick it up, by the way, PS. You might want to check into that.
Yeah, he was. So he was the highest civilian honor is the Order of Canada, and you know what? Take it back. Take that back.
No. He didn't come pick up the award, is what I heard.
Yeah, take his name off the list.
Yeah.
Don't even
Done.
like. What a clown.
Yeah, if you're not,
Just-
if you're not going to come accept the award, don't give it to him.
Yeah, come on.
That's right. It's exactly it. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I think there's a lot of hatred for him out there, and it's placed in the right spot. And you know, my comments remain the same as they did last week, which is a fuck you, Wayne Gretzky. You are classless.
Crazy, buddy. So now we've got Toronto is playing San Jose tomorrow on Prime Hockey. Now let's talk a little bit about, I just want to give Prime a bit of a plug because I'll tell you what, the announcers on it, not the best. Because when you're listening to the best all the time, the Leafs obviously have hired the best announcers and the play-by-play, and the color is amazing. But I'll tell you this right now, on Prime, the picture, the 4K is probably what we call true 4K. You watch the games, it blows your mind, the picture quality. It's like being there. Unbelievable. But I mean, it's almost like if I can listen to Joe Bowen call the game through radio and sync it to that game, I would totally do it because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Yeah,
I've been
you
to
have
a Prime. I was at a Prime game in Calgary. That's the city I live in, Calgary. So we were there. Had one of the kids with me, and he was on. So there's not a big crowd around the announcers, so he was on the broadcast as they're kind of in between periods, and he's waving at the camera and having a grand old time. And it was pretty fun. The guys hosting were pretty engaging too.
And who were they playing, Rick, in that game? Was it the Leafs?
No, they were playing somebody. It might have been Boston, actually. I think it was Boston,
Okay.
Calgary. Yeah. And
It's
yeah, fun. It was fun.
No, I was going to tell a story, and I meant to tell you before we even talked about it, but the first time you're going to hear about it, Rick, is right now. So Rick went to go see a Toronto Calgary game where Toronto won 6-3, and he sent me a picture of his view of the ice, and they were great seats, right? And a good buddy of Craig's and mine, Mark, he came over the other night with his friend of his, Lorraine, who lives in Alberta, and we were talking about the game, and she was showing me her seats from the game. And if you look at, it's not exactly this. We'll say Rick was in level 2, say 201. She was in 301. So the view that she had was exactly the same view you had, but from higher up, like identical. So I took the picture that you sent me and her picture, and I held them right there, and it was like the scoreboard.
It's the same.
It was the same, man. I'm like, holy crap! And then I zoomed in, and I could see you in the seats in front. Dude, it blew my mind. I got to tell Rick this. I totally blanked on it, but unbelievable. She goes out with her and her partner. They go see a ton of games.
That's awesome.
And they travel all around, not just in Canada. They go to the U.S. She's also a huge baseball fan and stuff like that. But we had a great talk. But the part that blew my mind was that picture, dude. I was like, what the heck?
That's awesome.
Fantastic, man. So cool. Very cool.
So I had something very similar happen recently where there's somebody I work with who sent me a text message. So I'm sitting in my seat and I get a text message and it says, I see you. And it's a zoomed in photo of me and my stepdaughter sitting in our seats. And they're so weird. And so this person goes to a lot of hockey games that works with me and big hockey fan. And I see them often at the games, or I'll get a text message saying, hey, I saw you, or I'll be like, hey, I saw you. And it's weird when you get a picture of yourself. Now, she was in the exact opposite end of the rink. So we were in the lower bowl, kind of the first few rows, and she was in nosebleeds, opposite end. So kudos to her camera, because that camera picture, the photo was fantastic as she zoomed in and found us.
Somebody took a picture of me and it said, I see you. And it was Craig and Teresa. They took a picture and sent it to me. I was laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's funny when it happens, right?
So it is, yeah. And
I love it.
There's so many people that go to these, there's 15,000 people that go to these games. You're bound to run into a few people and anyways. Hey, what else you got? You got anything else, or are we pulling the plug?
The last thing I have, and Craig has something, and then I'll go. Go ahead, Craig. You go first.
No, I just want to talk about when we're watching games on some of the networks here in the Eastern Conference. We get a lot of Boston games. It's every time you turn on the TV at night, it's Boston and somebody, Boston and somebody. I'd like to see the networks take Washington, with Ovechkin being so close to this record. Put Washington on every night. Get them in whatever they're playing, wherever they're playing. Get them on TV. Let's see this guy. Let's see. let's see him get this record, and hopefully he can do it this year because they need to televise more of those games.
Good call.
Great
Make them
point.
high profile.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
totally
great
agree.
point.
Totally
So
agree with
being
you.
out west, I see all the Vancouver. Whenever it's not a Calgary game, it's a Vancouver. I don't want to see Vancouver play. I don't like Vancouver. As a Toronto fan, like, fuck, stupid
Yeah,
Vancouver.
exactly.
Yeah.
What about Seattle? Do you see any Seattle games out there, or it's too far gone down? You don't see anything from Seattle?
A little bit. Like we see them when they play here,
Okay.
but I don't like. I think I actually maybe watched the Seattle Vancouver game the other night, which
Yeah.
like
That
oh
was
my
a pretty
god,
good
just
game. That wasn't a bad game. It was close. Went back and forth. I think it was 3-3 at one point, and then I think Seattle ended it. Montour won it, I think, for him. Another defenseman that you alluded to. Yeah,
Forfeits.
yeah.
he did a good job. The
Yeah.
other thing that I
That's a game I couldn't give a shit about.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Both teams suck. Anyways, the last thing that I wanted to say is we didn't talk about this earlier, but the Leafs don't need to go out and get a third line center. We already have a third line center. We have our poor man's version of Mark Stone and Cal Yarncroc, who's going to be coming back. So if we're looking just for a third line center,
And he hasn't played a game this year.
he's going to be fresh.
No.
Really
No.
fresh.
Really
Extra
fresh.
Yeah.
For a trade, fresh for a trade.
Okay. He came from Calgary. He came from Calgary before he was in Toronto. There's another Calgary-Toronto connection.
Yarncroc for Anderson.
Okay. Maybe. Make a call. All right, buddy. What do you
Oh.
got? What do you got? You going to finish here?
I'll phone Brad.
All right.
You phone Craig.
Done.
Well,
Hey,
here
Craig.
we are wrapping
sorry.
up episode 16. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Podbean, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all the different mediums you can follow us on. Love to hear from you the past couple weeks. I'll love to hear those comments. Love to engage with you through social media. And if you got some ideas, throw us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Other than that, have a great week.
See you later.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hockey Huddle and hanging out with us through all the slap shots, big hits, and highlight reel plays. Whether you're a diehard fan or just getting into the game, we appreciate you being part of our hockey family. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and hit us up on social media with your thoughts, questions, or hot takes. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep your stick on the ice, your head up, and we'll catch you in the next period. Take care, everyone.